Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and
Off we go! Lively Lewis Stories!
Hey there, awesome friends.
Guess what?
We're super thrilled to share some exciting news with you.
We've got our very own Lively Lewis merchandise.
Woohoo! Grab your parents and head over to livelylewisshop.com or simply click on the link below in our show notes.
Now, let's dive into today's story.
Ivy was having her friend Renata over to play one summer afternoon. She was really excited because it would be the first time Renata was visiting Ivy since they met. Renata and Ivy had become good friends at a week-long art camp earlier that summer. Their moms exchanged numbers and they said they would get them together before the summer was over, and today was the day. Renata was a new big sister and had just welcomed her baby brother Zach into her family early that spring. She loved being a big sister, most of the time, but told Ivy at camp that sometimes there were things about it that she didn't like at all. "Zach cries all the time," Renata told Ivy. "At least it seems like he cries all the time. Maybe it's just when I'm around. Maybe he doesn't like me." "Oh, I'm sure that's not the reason," said Ivy. "Babies cry for lots of reasons. He could be hungry or tired or have a dirty diaper." "A dirty diaper? Ew!" the girls said together as they giggled. "Babies that little don't have many ways to communicate, so crying is the kind of their go-to," Ivy explained. "I guess. I just wish he was older already and we could play together," said Renata. "Or maybe I could turn into a baby again and then we could cry together." Renata laughed along with Ivy at the thought of her silly suggestion, but then she stopped. "I mean, think about it. What if we could turn back into babies and do it all over again?" asked Renata with a sparkle in her eye. "I don't remember what it was like to be a baby, so maybe if I could be one again alongside Zach, then I'd understand a little bit more of what he's going through. I could sympathize with him more, you know?" "I guess that would be kind of cool," said Ivy. "I wouldn't mind someone carrying me around all day, feeding me whenever I asked for it, waiting on me hand and foot, and telling me how cute I am every second." The girls were half joking and half thinking it would be fun if that could happen. So they decided at their playdate that they would see if they could do some kind of special magic and make themselves babies again, just for the day. Ivy was arranging all her special potions in her room just as Renata was set to arrive. And by potions, I mean she was putting out bottles of water that she had added food dye to earlier, so they sparkled green and blue and purple. She also gathered things that she thought would be useful for a baby spell, like some of her old baby clothes, a teether she had when she was little, and a glass of milk. Since there was no real spell for something like this, she and Renata were just winging it. When Renata finally arrived, so did a sudden thunderstorm. "Hi, Renata," Ivy called out over the claps of thunder. "Looks like we won't be playing outside today." "I know. Where did this storm come from anyways?" asked Renata. "I thought it was supposed to be sunny all day." "Me too," said Ivy. "But do you feel that? There's kind of a strange feeling in the air." Both girls agreed. It did seem unusual outside, but they were just so happy to see each other that they didn't think too much about the weather before they ran off to play. They also didn't think too much more about their silly spell to turn themselves into babies because they were having too much fun playing video games and eating junk food. That is, until the power went out. "Oh no! What are we gonna do now?" asked Renata as she remembered their original plan. "Oh, how about we try that baby spell?" "I guess," replied Ivy. "We don't have anything else to do." They ran up to Ivy's room and she showed Renata all the things she had gathered for the spell. "I've obviously never done this before, so I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen," Ivy said with a giggle. "I know," answered Renata, "but it'll be fun to try." So they grabbed the baby clothes, the teether, the milk, and dumped them all into a little baby bathtub that Levi and Ivy both used when they were little. Ivy also sprinkled some colorful water on top of it for good measure and to make it look pretty. "I think we need to say some kind of magic words, right?" asked Renata. "Seems like the right thing to do," said Ivy as she grabbed a plastic wand she got at the party store and waved it over the bathtub. "Here goes," said Ivy as she began to say. "Goo goo gaga babbly boo, make us both babies all little and new. 10 little fingers and 10 little toes, no hair on our heads and a sweet button nose. Goo goo gaga little baby, just for today so that we can see what it's like to be a little once more. So drink from a bottle and crawl on the floor." Ivy laughed as she recited the silly spell that she was making up as she went. Renata was laughing too and watched as Ivy waved her wand more and more. But before Ivy could finish her silly spell, there was a loud clap of thunder, the loudest one they had heard all day, followed by the brightest flash of lightning. It was so bright, in fact, that Ivy and Renata had to close their eyes. They called out to each other as the loud sound and bright lightning made them both a little scared. But what they didn't know was they probably should have kept their eyes shut, because what they saw when they opened them was nothing they could have imagined. Finally, it all stopped and Ivy blinked and looked around. It seemed as if the sun was out now. "Wow, that was something," said Ivy to Renata. "But it looks like the storm has passed." "That's good. I've never seen or heard a storm like that before," Renata added. "That lightning was so bright, my eyes are still adjusting. I can't see a thing." "Mine too," said Ivy, rubbing her eyes and trying to get them back in focus. It didn't take too much longer, but when Ivy could finally see, she happened to be facing her mirror and she let out a scream. "What? What's wrong?" called out Renata. Her blurry vision was going away, and once it returned, she saw exactly what Ivy had been screaming about. And she let out a scream of her own. "Ivy, do you see what I see?" asked Renata. "If you see two babies looking back at you in the mirror, then yes," said Ivy, sounding shocked and surprised. "It worked! Our spell worked! We're babies again!" Renata needed a minute to process what was going on. She just stared at herself in the mirror. She waved, and the baby waved. She stuck out her tongue, and the baby stuck out her tongue. She smiled, and the baby smiled. "Yep, it's official. We're babies," said Renata, finally accepting what she was seeing. "Well, I think we need to tell my mom," said Ivy. So she called out for her as loud as she could. "Mom!" As Ivy's mom ran into the room, the two girls were just waiting for the questions, the disbelief, and the surprise on her face. But there was none of that. Instead, Ivy's mom just stood by the crib they were in and soothed both of them with a pat on the back. "Are you two babies hungry?" she said, much to the surprise of Ivy and Renata. "What is going on?" said Renata. Can she not see that her daughter and her daughter's friend, who clearly were not babies 10 minutes ago, are now diaper-wearing, no talking, no hair-having infants? "I'm going to say that's a no," replied Ivy. "We can talk to each other normally, but it seems that she just hears baby sounds." "You two are really talking up a storm in here," said Ivy's mom. "I wish I knew what you two were saying. I bet it's pretty interesting." "You have no idea," answered Renata. "So, do you want something to eat?" Ivy's mom asked again. "Not really," answered Ivy. "I'm kind of tired. I just wish I could get comfortable, but I can't really move around too well by myself. That's pretty frustrating, actually. I hope she picks me up and hops around with me like she does with my baby cousin." "Nope, it just looks like she's going to get us bottles," said Renata. "She thinks we're hungry. It stinks that we can't just tell her what we really want." Ivy wriggled around, trying to get comfortable, and started to shout because she was getting frustrated. Just then, Ivy's mom ran back in with 2 bottles. "Here you go, little ones. I'll take each of you out and feed you now," she said. "But I don't want to eat," called out Ivy. "I'm tired. What do I have to do to make you understand?" "Please stop crying, little one. I'm doing all I can," said Ivy's mom as she tried to give her a bottle. "Crying? I'm not crying," said Ivy out loud. "I'm talking perfectly normal, but you can't understand me because I'm a baby." As Renata listened, she understood a little bit more. "Because we can't talk, our parents and big sisters or brothers have to guess what we want all the time. That can't be fun. Having to wait for your family to guess the right thing that makes you stop crying? It's kind of making me feel bad for Zach right now." "Yeah, definitely," said Ivy as her mom was still trying to give her a bottle. "Okay, it doesn't seem like you want this bottle, little Ivy. How about a diaper change?" asked her mom. "Ew," said Ivy very loudly. Okay, so you don't want a diaper change either. Got it," said Ivy's mom. "How about a nap? Did that thunderstorm wake you up too early?" she said as she began to rock Ivy in her arms. "Finally," Ivy said to Renata as she yawned and began to drift to sleep. Renata was actually a little hungry and finished her bottle once Ivy was asleep. But once her bottle was done, she also felt like taking a nap. As Ivy's mom gently placed her back in the crib next to a sleeping Ivy, she realized that being a baby wasn't as easy as it looked. She had so much better understanding of what her baby brother Zach goes through every day. And it seems like it could be kind of difficult at times. As she drifted off to sleep, she promised that she wouldn't be so quick to get annoyed when Zach cried. She'd even thought she could try to figure out if he cried different ways for different things. Maybe she could even teach him baby sign language so he could communicate before he actually started talking. With so much on her mind, Renata fell asleep quickly, but didn't stay asleep for long. She woke up when Ivy's mom walked into the room. "Are you two taking a nap?" she asked. "In the middle of the day. Ivy, you haven't taken a nap at this time since you were a baby." "A baby?" Ivy and Renata said together as they looked in the mirror and then at each other. Much to their surprise and happiness, everything was back to normal. They both laughed and made baby noises at each other before they ran out of Ivy's room to play some more before Renata headed home. Renata had a great time playing the rest of the day with Ivy, but when it was time to leave, she knew what she would do. As soon as Renata got home, she ran right over to her little brother, Zach. "Hey, buddy, don't you worry. I'm going to figure out a way for you to be able to talk with me," said Renata, looking lovingly at her brother. "That way you don't have to be frustrated if you're crying because you want to eat, but I'm going to try to make you laugh by singing you a silly song." Zach looked up at Renata as if he could understand her. He smiled and cooed, and it showed how much he loved his big sister. She loved him too, maybe even a little bit more than she did before she went to Ivy's house and did that silly baby spell. Because now Renata remembered exactly what it's like to be a baby. Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.